My name is Ryan Spencer. I work for ZEISS Industrial Quality Solutions. I've been with ZEISS since 2014. My current role is the National Operations Manager, and we have 6 facilities across the United States and approximately 65 employees. Our journey started back in 2014. It was myself and 2 engineers. Started out very small, but have grown to that 65 that we have today. And from a revenue standpoint, that equates to about $600,000 we started with in the beginning to $16.5 million now. So it's been quite the quite the journey, and we've enjoyed that relationship with iBE quite a bit to help us be successful and help grow and scale that business. Certainly. So the nice thing about us is we don't serve any one industry, right? We actually serve all of the different industries, which really helps us stay stable in the environment. Here in Michigan, for example, it's very automotive heavy, and you got Ford, you got GM, they're pretty big powerhouses in the area. But anything in the world that gets manufactured has to be inspected, and that's where ZEISS comes in. ZEISS is the global leader in metrology. We manufacture the equipment, we have our own software, we perform all the training, we do all the service. It's really a one-stop shop. In my department specifically, we call it the Metrology Services Department. And what we do is we use our equipment to measure parts for our customers. So, perhaps the customer isn't ready to purchase the equipment. Maybe they just need some help with their equipment. That's really where my department comes in, and it's a wide variety of equipment, whether it's traditional tactile measurements to optical measurements or our flagship CT scanning. It's quite an interesting and wide portfolio that we have. So it's a long list of challenges that we might see. It's really based on the economy, right? The economy tends to shift, it goes up and it goes down. And the nice thing about our situation is typically when the economy dips, money gets tight, that's when the capital equipment investments tend to kind of fall off and get restricted. And anytime that happens, my specific department, we'll see an increase in business. So somebody that might have planned on buying a new system, maybe the system was $500,000 or $1 million US, they say, well, we can't afford that right now. Can you measure these tens of thousands of pieces for us, right? So that's been an interesting challenge. In trying to stay fast and efficient is really the biggest challenge that we always face. And that's a great segue into how we found iBE. With our company being set up primarily for capital equipment, it's a very different sales cycle. It's a different process. It's completely different timing. You might work with a client for a year, to quote, discuss, negotiate, secure funding. And the process that we have with our ERP systems are kind of set up around that. And however, in the metrology services business, it's fast. The velocity is just crazy. And we might meet a brand new contact today. We have to enter that customer information into the system today. We have to send them a quote today, book their purchase order today, and then send them results today. And nobody else does the speed and velocity that we do. And iBE was the only business partner we found that would customize the solution and tailor it specifically to our needs. And that really took us out of the Microsoft Office world into a proper CRM tool that supports the business and moves at the speed of our customers. For us currently, when we talk digital solutions, a lot of it tends to segue into automation. And of course, everybody's talking AI, right? Everything needs to be automatic, but what does that really mean? It means that we need to get rid of the manual steps. That's what it means for us. It's not just about, we're not trying to eliminate people, right? People are the core of our business. It's about better utilization of the people, helping them be more efficient. So when we talk about these automation steps and the communications, we're able to just process things quicker, which also helps us to then be more cost effective to our customers. If we just continue to raise prices, we don't do anybody any good. Customers can't afford it, timing's too long, so they need us to be able to track things very quickly, whether it's their inventory as it comes in and out, the data that we actually process, the record of a timesheet, even for an engineer that might have worked on the job, and that's how we're able to do that. And it's a continually improve it too. So it's been very nice to see what we do today versus what we did in 2014. It's very, very different. At its core, it's the same. We're measuring parts for customers, but it's the digital tools, the efficiencies, the processes, reducing clicks, right? It's been very, very important to do that. And we've been able to continue to do that, and the enhancements never stop. It feels like we accomplish one thing and then we move right to the next, and it's like, great, that ticket's closed. Okay, we're going to open the next one. It's just always a list kind of ready to go, which is really helpful. And it's really hearing our customers, responding to them as quickly as possible, improving the process, and not be afraid to, as we call it, run the experiment. We have what we call it, what if, and we look at it, we try it, and if it doesn't work, we just simply go back, right? We don't stand still and overanalyze, we just move. It's kind of all of the above that we talked about, which is really interesting. So when we started, I didn't really know what to do, right? It was a big demand and it was a big challenge. My personal background, I'm not a very technical person. I don't know how to create a website, for example. I don't know how to generate databases or write code, so I worked a lot in Microsoft Excel. And what I had was this massive Excel workbook. And as it kind of evolved and generated this business, I ended up with an Excel workbook with 2.6 million formulas in it, and that just wasn't sustainable. It would look at different rows of data, pull information across one tab to another. What did we work on? What's in progress? What's finished? And it was kind of a mess, right? I was the only person in the organization that understood it. Nobody else could see it or have it make sense. And we weren't really able to recognize the business processes, right? We didn't have timesheets as part of that. We didn't have a way to see the hours or the times, efficiencies. And that's what iBE really brought to the table. It's already a solution that existed, right? iBE had a core product. It wasn't perfect for what ZEISS needed, but a very good base. And working with iBE at the beginning was really great because of the background and experience the team had with SAP. And we're big SAP users. We understand SAP. You guys understood SAP. So iBE was able to say, yes, we understand what your problem is. We understand that this works for large businesses. And one thing that I like to say a lot is a tool that does everything doesn't do anything particularly well. So we needed something that was much smaller, that would scale and work for us. And that's what enabled us to grow our business. And we can look at the data very discreetly and we can say, this is how much time we spent doing our normal job. This is billable. This was measuring parts for a customer. This is how much time we did demonstrations and, helping other departments. Every single hour of every single day is allocated. And that has a great benefit, not only to our customers, but to our internal P&L. Helps us justify hiring processes, approvals, the list just goes on and on. It's been just a wonderful partnership from the beginning through today. For sure. A big thing for us, I think, as a next step is integrating the iBE tool more seamlessly directly into SAP. We still have SAP as our core product, which is vital to a lot of organizations, right, including our own. And the current limitation is still it can't handle the velocity of our business. Can't handle the speed nor the detail that we have. So rather than shifting into a different tool and kind of starting over, we want to continue doing what we're doing, but use some sort of maybe an API or some sort of automation to directly send the data back and forth. And that's going to be a very big challenge, right? The wonderful thing for us, though, is this is not a iBE limitation, right? iBE can handle this for us. Yep. It's just that we have to carve out the time. We have to do it. We have to coordinate with our global partners internally and just make it as seamlessly as possible, making our searches a little more fluid, interpreting what we want, where the tool starts doing things, and just getting rid of those manual steps that we have today. And we're making great strides in that already. The iBE team's been great working on those enhancements, looking at our opportunities, even seeing little red, yellow, greens, things like this are really helpful. And that's the continual evolution that we have that we're looking forward to.